During the height of the pandemic, a friend of mine was playing through Monster Hunter World, and as the rules of Gamer Buddies dictate, I was obliged to buy the game so we could play together. The thing is though that I had tried to play World before. A different friend convinced me to get it on PS4, and I bounced off of it hard. The game was dense, confusing, and I didn't have an understanding of what I was doing wrong, or even if what I was doing was right. My breaking point was the first time you go to the Wildspire Wastes, and I couldn't get past Baroth of all monsters. My friend wasn't great at shepherding me through this, so I ditched the game. I mean, just look at these menus, and why is Baroth so hard, and what does that mean, and what is this upgrade tree, and what do you mean I get hungry while hunting? So now here I am, looking at Monster Hunter World Iceborne on PC, with a different friend shepherding me through it. This time was different. His way of explaining how the game worked made something click in my brain, and the layers of menus, button combos, and mechanics all slowly unraveled themselves. Thus began my journey with Monster Hunter, and holy shit, almost 500 hours, what the fuck? So, after a while, we sort of formed our own Monster Hunter cult, and that means we have to evangelize the series to everyone we know. We did it with World, we did it with Rise, we're probably going to do it with Wilds whenever that happens. We've had varying degrees of success, but what I've seen personally leads me to believe that Monster Hunter has something to offer everyone. It just comes down to two conditions. Enough time must be spent with the game to understand it, and there must be a willingness to persevere. This brings us to what I've titled the video, and it's a great question. Just recently, Capcom announced that Monster Hunter World has sold over 25 million copies, in the same year as the series' 20th anniversary. It's obvious that quite a lot of people like this sort of game, despite how incredibly dense it can be. I've badgered quite a few people into playing the game and then held their hands until they were ready, like I was raising a baby bird. Eventually they find something to like about Monster Hunter, even if they don't continue playing it. I posed a question to some friends in the Discord chat. To you, what is most appealing about Monster Hunter? What I got was several paragraphs in response, which more or less vibe with my own feelings about the series. I can distill these thoughts into 3 words: combat, immersion, and progression. Let's dive into those. If you're a Monster Hunter vet, you probably already know what I mean when I say Monster Hunter is kind of a fighting game. There are currently 14 different weapons available as of the 5th generation of games. Each weapon has its own unique moveset, combos, and abilities. Typically someone will pick a weapon and stick with that weapon for the whole game. However, if you've been totally monogamous to one weapon and you're feeling bored, you can give a different weapon a try, and then the whole game has changed. If you've played for 20 hours with the hammer and then decide to switch to longsword, you're going to have to spend some time learning how to use the longsword. Then, how you approach a hunt will have to be completely different from how you're used to doing it. In this way, Monster Hunter is secretly a fighting game. Each weapon type is its own character. That's how different they are. Even the weapons that are superficially similar to each other, Lance and Gun Lance is a good example, they do totally different things. Now, the other part of this equation is the hunt itself. Like how every weapon is its own character, every monster is too. With a few exceptions, each monster has its own moveset and behaviors. Tobikadachi glides, Bambara bulldozes, Baroth is a literal piece of shit, Rathalos tail flips you into next week, the list continues. Most monsters have their own striking visual design, instantly telling you something about it. Those are some big horns, I bet those hurt a lot. On top of excellent visual monster design, the fights are always challenging. It takes several hunts to really learn how a particular monster moves. Quite often these fights are described as a dance. You have to look for its tells, a certain posture before attacking, most of the time. And then the fights change as you move from low rank into high rank and again into master rank. What was once one tail swipe becomes 2, and so on. It's a fighting game. You're learning movesets for yourself and your opponents. There's so much variety to this that it's hard to get tired of it, and the level of challenge is enough to keep you playing, and even get you to come back long after you've finished the game. Okay, so this one is a little harder to define, and it's a bit more specific to World, but I think previous entries and Rise also do well in this aspect in their own ways. I fully expect Wilds to build off of what World accomplished with its maps. Each map has character. Of course, they sorta have to, there's only so many maps and you're going to be spending a lot of time in them hunting. World very much in particular has so much going on in each of its maps. The Ancient Forest, for example, evolves from a beach to a flat area with a brook to a full-on jungle with multiple vertical layers, sprawling caves, decaying log tunnels, and dense foliage. Comparing World's maps to other games in the series isn't exactly fair, however. Most of the series was developed for handhelds or underpowered Nintendo hardware, and long before we had the tech to render such dense environments. Even Rise, in the same generation as World, just doesn't have the same level of detail because it was developed for the Switch. That isn't to say that Rise or any other Monster Hunter is lacking in map design. The focus is very much on creating a natural feeling environment, one where you might expect to find dangerous wildlife. However, beyond map design, Monster Hunter is excellent at making you feel like you're a hunter. The culture of the Hunters Guild, whatever hub you end up in between hunts, getting meals cooked by cat people. I think a combination of combat, world design, and sound design all come together to make you feel like you belong in that world. Maybe it's how personal the hunts can be. It's hard to explain, but Monster Hunter just does it. Also, hey, shout out to the music for Monster Hunter in general. I don't know where else to put this, but I have to mention the music. It's excellent across the board. A lot of monsters have their own themes that add a lot to their character. Plus, each map has a theme, and it's dynamic based on what's happening. It's all very good. So you go out into the wilds, you hunt a monster, and you come back to town. Now what? Well, now you can turn whatever you just hunted into a hat. Hunt a monster, upgrade your weapon and armor, go hunt another monster, repeat the process. It's quite simple and it's done very well. Even if you stick to one weapon, you've got multiple upgrade trees to choose from, all with different elements and attack values, sharpness, and decoration slots. I haven't even really mentioned armor yet, or armor sets, or skills at all yet. So, skills are basically what they sound like. They do things that alter gameplay. Like Evade Extender makes you move further when you dodge roll. Critical Eye gives you a higher critical chance. There's tons of them, and these mostly come from armor and decorations. This system is very simple in concept, but boy does it get out of hand once you consider how many skills there are, and how many different builds you can make. You can have a build for every element. You can focus on your weapon strengths, like offensive guard for lance or slugger for hammer. Tired of getting stunned all the time? Slap in some stun resistance. The possibilities are huge. Skills are absolutely necessary as the game progresses because the monsters get harder and you do not level up. This isn't a JRPG. Your health bar is the same as it's ever going to be. You need better armor and skills to be able to hunt more dangerous monsters and then elder dragons. Thus we have the cycle of hunting, turning whatever monster parts you got into new armor and other things that will help you become stronger, and then you hunt a more difficult monster. It's incredibly rewarding to have worked hard fighting a particular monster for the parts that you needed, and your build finally comes together. However, this is still Monster Hunter, and even strong armor and skills can't save you if you don't know the monster you're fighting, or even worse, if you don't know your weapon. I've never played a game quite like Monster Hunter. I'm not sure any other game really comes close. There have been attempts like Wild Hearts and Dauntless, but they ultimately just didn't have the same cohesive design that Monster Hunter has built over 20 years. I suppose because it's been building on top of itself over 2 decades, it's difficult to replicate that and have more competition within this genre, if you even can call it a genre. Is it a genre if only one game has truly defined it? I don't know, somebody ask Hideo Kojima, he might have a good answer. Monster Hunter World and Rise have taken up way too much of my free time these last 4 years. It's just such a solid formula. It isn't perfect. I've certainly had complaints about hitboxes and other minutia like that, but it's had so many excellent moments with friends, so much rewarding gameplay, and World still has my favorite final boss fight in any game, Fatalis, is such an ambitious, apocalyptic fight which requires the ultimate culmination of everything you've learned in order to succeed. It's an incredible experience. So, why do people like Monster Hunter? Well, it's fun, isn't it? It's a video game-ass video game, and it's really good at being that. Find a friend who knows what they're doing, and play some Monster Hunter. Or hey, be a trailblazer and learn it for yourself. There's lots of resources on the internet. You'll figure it out. I'm gonna go beat Bear off to death with a hammer again. Fuck that guy.